What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Great Lakes Outdoors podcast. Chris and I are sitting here. Chris, how's it going?
It's going.
Been excited for this day for a long time. We've got two very special guests, Steve and Tyler from MUCC. How's it going, you guys?
Good.
Doing good. Yeah, excited to be here.
I've been kind of nervous about this whole day, to be honest with you. Just, you guys are like absolutely huge and for what like MUCC stands for in the state and everything, and I don't know, man. There's so many different questions I've been wanting to ask you guys and like just get into it with conservation in our state here. I guess I'm glad that we talked for an hour and a half just now and kind of broke the ice a little bit. But you guys kind of want to just start off first with just kind of introducing you guys yourselves and going from there?
Yeah. So I'm Tyler. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications at MUCC. I'm one of the newer employees. I've only been here, I think, 9 months.
Oh, really?
So I've been learning fast, doing a lot of different things, and yeah, I mean, it's been great so far. It's been really cool to learn about conservation in our state, and just the people I get to meet, the other stakeholders, everyone in this industry is very welcoming, and it's been really great to be a part of all this.
I'm sure it's a crazy thing when you first start, though. It's like realizing how big this thing actually is, just hunting and the connections and everything. Behind the scenes work, I guess, of it all. Yeah,
no, it's super unique. I mean, you see a lot of the front facing things, but yeah, being behind the scenes, actually being a part of it, it's a very, very different world.
Right.
And it operates very differently than I had ever thought. But I think there's a lot of pros and cons with that. But there's a lot of really cool things I get to see.
For sure.
Steve Wyndham. I'm the Director of Development and Membership for MUCC. So I oversee all of our fundraising, major donors, corporate sponsors, everything that helps us raise money and keep protecting our right to hunt, fish, and trap. So as a nonprofit organization, we're non-speciated, we're Michigan-based. We actually like to tote the fact that we are the nation's largest and most successful statewide conservation organization. We have about 40,000 members. We represent about 200 different hook and bullet conservation clubs. And then we also have our individual memberships where, just like any other, NDA or DU, you can just sign up and be a member of MUCC and help us, live our mission to protect your right to hunt, fish, and trap here.
Man, it's
one of the nation's largest. That's insane. Our home state,
nation's largest.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because as a statewide org, right, you've got chapters of NDA, you've got chapters of DU, all of them great partners with MUCC here in Michigan. But as a non-speciated statewide org, I mean, we cover all the way to Iron Mountain, all the way down to St. Joe. I mean, we're everywhere. And so with 40,000 members as a statewide org, we're the largest in the nation and really one of the most unique with our grassroots policy setting process. So every member of MUCC has a voice in the things that we fight or support or the action we take. It's member based.
It's insane.
It's really important.
Absolutely incredible for what you guys do. How did you guys originally get involved more with MUCC?
So I've been in development my whole career. So I went to Western and I had no idea what I was going to do. And I was like, okay, communication.
Besides party at Western.
Right. Go Broncos, right? Hockey team right now is kicking ass. But I didn't know what I was going to do. I was like, I'll go into communications because my dad was a car salesman. My mom did marketing for General Motors. And I was like, all right, this seems cool.
Right.
And they had this first year experience where you had to go in and do volunteer hours. And I got hooked on volunteerism. And so I did alternative spring breaks. We did these urban plunge trips. And I got out of college and I was like, well, I don't want to sell copiers.
Right.
Let's do something
kind of boring.
Yeah. I mean, something cool. So we did nonprofit. So I've done American Cancer Society. I've done American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Alzheimer's Association. And this popped up on my Indeed feed. And I was like, conservation, hell yeah. Growing up hunting and fishing in my family and having, at the time I had 2 kids when I made the transition and jumped into it and just applied and went for it and having big dreams and, big aspirations. I was like, I'd love to do this for something that I live
bigger than me.
Yeah. And then I live and breathe too, right? I've had cancer in my family. My grandmother has Alzheimer's right now. But getting out of the health field was so great and to get into conservation. So for me, it's it was a great transition to just jump in and June will be 3 years for me.
The kind of conservation aspect of it all, it's almost one of those things. It's always refreshing, right? It's always, you're doing it for the future of us and the healthcare. With me working at the hospital myself, it's oh man, I don't know kind of like it's just a downer in a sense. You know what I mean?
It,
like to an
it's
extent.
tough to listen to someone talk about their grandma not knowing who they are,
Yeah.
or like, you know, I lost my friend to suicide. Like that, it's heavy. It's great work. I loved it.
Right.
But like this is like, I get to do a business meeting shooting sporting clays, or I get to go like I big shout out to Network Outdoors, one of our partners. Like Brandon Molson and I met at the parking lot of Harson's Island.
Oh, no kidding.
Like we 4 a.m. we're getting there for the draw, and we had never met before. We're like, hey, instead of going to sit in a coffee shop, let's go shoot some ducks. And we spent the whole day
sweet.
talking business, shooting ducks. Like, what a better job than being outdoors.
You can't beat that at all. You can't.
That is one thing about waterfowl alone that over the years I absolutely love about it. Like you could do that with some random guy in the parking lot.
Yep.
But if you're going out deer or turkey or rabbit or whatever it may be, you don't want to talk to that guy. You don't want to look at that guy. Like you're just you're going.
Your stand is way over there.
Right, right. You stay over here. I'm gonna stay over here
for that.
But it's just the people that take it the other way, which is downside of it all. But like I don't know, I love waterfowl in that aspect. Having the dogs out there, obviously, and just a big family at the end of the day.
Yeah,
with
and
it all.
honestly, like we take major donors out to hunt, and like it's like what a better way to like build relationships.
You know, talking the blind
out in the field,
right?
And waterfowl's the most social of any hunting.
It really is,
it blew up. You know, obviously, what was that? Probably 6, 7. I'll say 5 to 10 years ago, like the whole Duck Dynasty era, people call it. You know, but
I've never done the pit blind with like the griddle in there, and I want to do that still.
The bougie duck hunting,
I need to do that still.
We don't have a pit blind, but we have 2 permanent blinds. We do a griddle in that. So if you want to come out for that, we'll be all right.
We can make that happen.
Right.
Let's do it.
But what about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up fishing my whole life, and in my last job, I co-owned a marketing agency, and so I'd exited that, and I was looking for a new job, and I saw conservation, and I was looking at it, I'm like, this just equates to exactly what I want to do. And you know, Steve was actually the one that interviewed me originally.
You can say thank you.
So you almost
later.
got a little step above him, no matter what.
He can say thank you later.
Yeah, I'll say it later. Much later.
Way later,
Much later.
Never.
But no, I mean, it was kind of a similar thing. It was just a job that kind of appeared across the newsfeed. I'm like, this could not be a better fit. And I went in, and I think honestly, what got me the job is like the passion I had. I'm like, this is what I live. This is what I love. The opportunity to have such a big impact again for generations beyond my own. Like I want to make sure that my kids have the same opportunities that I did. So when I saw the job and I saw what MUCC was and what they stood for, I was like, this is a perfect fit. Yeah. And it's been great since.
Now, both of you guys grew up hunting, I'm assuming.
I didn't. I'm actually.
you didn't? Okay.
I'm an adult on set. So it was this was a really cool moment for me. So I moved to Colorado right after college. Was not a hunter.
Wow.
I actually waterfowl hunted one time in college with a buddy. Growing up, I always wanted to hunt. My dad grew up hunting, never had the opportunity. I never had anyone to take me or teach me. I didn't really have a way to get into it. So
it's hard to get into just in general.
Well,
like people are very like you got a wall around them, which
and if you don't have friends that are big hunters, it's really people aren't always inviting into hunting. It's because you don't want to teach the new guy, and I get it. But I moved to Colorado and started watching Meat Eater, ironically, and that was really what got me into it. I was just watching a ton of Meat Eater. I'm like, this looks so cool. And then I actually got the opportunity last week to talk to Mark Kenyon on our podcast, and I got to thank him. I'm like, hey, without you and watching Renella and all these things, like I would not be in this room interviewing you in this moment. So it was like super full circle for me, which was really cool. And I literally thanked him. I'm like, you are the reason that I'm in this seat, and you're the reason I love to hunt, and I do all these things now and have had all these awesome opportunities. I've only been hunting now for 4 years, I think. So I've been getting into more of it. I shot 3 deer last year. So I mean,
more than me, I'll tell you that.
So I'm getting there, but hunting was just something that I wanted to do more of, and then saw MUCC, and now I've had even more. I mean, I shot my first pheasant with MUCC. I'd never been pheasant hunting. I got that opportunity. So it was just a perfect fit, honestly.
It's pretty crazy as a non-hunter, to listen to a podcast, I guess. It kind of like, even for us and you guys running you guys' own podcast, you don't really know the audience or who's the person listening to it through the radio or the headphones at work, whatever it may be, but how much of an impact the one podcast that they're listening to that day can really inspire them to get involved with something, with the outdoors. You know, it's very very thankful for having the platform that we do, and you know, your guys' platform to push that, I guess, for generations to come.
Yeah,
It's stories, right?
Right, right.
And that's
Yeah.
where, like, if you hear a story about someone you relate with, or you find some new information, or even if you just hear someone explain it in a different way, like, you never know, you know, who you're touching. So just continuing to push the ethics, the methods, the memories of all of that is like so powerful. And so whether it's email or newsletter or magazine or digital, like, we're always just trying to, you know, the biggest thing everybody says that we're having a declining population of hunters and anglers, right?
That's why I was gonna bring that up too.
We're pushing back against that. Like, we're telling the stories, we're getting you excited. Hopefully you're saying to yourself, I could do that.
Right.
Or that sounds fun, right? Like, that's the best part about it.
Yeah.
That's got to be somewhat hard though too, because of the generations, you know, even younger than, I'll say us three, because you're getting
You're grandpa over
I was
here.
gonna say, you're getting gray hairs,
I do
man.
have- I
you do?
I got 'em.
Okay, okay. Now I see him. Put the hat back on, man. But you know, like with video games, whatever, just getting people out of the house and getting them more intrigued with it all, and still trying to keep those numbers rising, I guess. You know,
It's an uphill battle for sure.
Seems
And
like,
I
yeah.
think what's so interesting is when people experience that for the first time, it's so eye opening.
Yeah.
Because like the first duck you shoot,
That
first,
adrenaline
like
rush.
the first deer you shoot,
Right.
right? Like everyone remembers their first deer. Like I remember I took a little doe. It was my first deer. I remember shooting it and just sitting there shaking.
probably about as big as Rip there.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
Looks just like him too. Jeez, Pete.
And, but I remember just sitting there shaking and being like, I will never experience this
Right.
feeling again. And now when I shoot deer, you know, it's still there. But it's
100%.
not that same level. Like I'm excited. I respect it. I'm pumped, but I'm not just sitting there like, what just happened?
Right.
Like,
Even just being outside, like when the woods wake up, when the marsh comes alive,
Yeah.
like there's such a connection out there, right? Like you
Peaceful.
don't know what it's like to watch that sunrise in wilderness. Like people can watch it on their way to work in a car, right? But
Right.
to be out there, like it's such a connection that
Yeah.
you really have to.
You have to experience it
yeah.
for sure.
Well, and they make fun of me. Like I'm already at the point, I got made fun of pretty heavy this year because I spent probably the best day I've ever had deer hunting. I sat in my blind for like 6-8 hours. And I didn't shoot. I didn't even pull up my gun. There was nothing I wanted to shoot. And I ended up pulling out my camera. And I was just taking videos of bucks chasing does. And like there's a pheasant running around. And it's like that was so cool for me. And that was just such a unique experience. And it was just like honestly magical in a way, just to see nature without any human interaction and just to watch, even without pulling up my gun. It was such an amazing experience for me. And I think if more people were able to experience that and understand it's not about the harvest, it's not about the kill, it's not about taking a life, it's about the experience, it's everything that comes with it. And that is just so empowering.
And I've brought it up before on the podcast where it's like the levels of hunting, if that makes sense to you guys. You know, when you first go out, you're just happy to be out in the woods and just you're excited to be there. Then I'll use waterfowl as an example because it's probably the easiest for me to try to explain. You get into it, you just want to be out there, you want to be on the water, the field, or whatever it may be. But then you get like that bloodthirst. You start seeing, like, you start meeting more people out there, posting pile pictures, and you want to kill. That's all you want to do is just kill. And then there's some point where I'm going to miss one of the stages, but at some point you're going to want to just sit there and just soak it all in.
Yeah.
And once you get to that point, man, it's just such a rewarding thing. Like for us, I don't know how many times you really look down at the blind on my end, but I don't even pull my gun out for like the first flock or two. I just want to sit there and just soak it in, man.
No, there's definitely some hunts where you don't even raise your gun.
No, I get
It's not because
more.
we're not having birds. It's just
Yeah.
he's just experiencing the whole thing.
I get more of a kick out of the scouting and like the behind the scenes stuff of it all.
Well, learning behaviors, learning
Right.
like patterns, like that's, you know, it's such a journey through the whole outdoor lifespan.
Right.
That you do get that rise of like, oh, I want that next big buck. I got my
Right.
6 point, I want my 8 point, I want my 10 point. And then at some point, you know, you're just like, I just want to learn more. I just want to see how these
Dissect it.
Yeah, you want to just be, you want to be part of it.
They say with passion too, it's like you got to learn to love the process.
100%.
Learn to love the journey, and that's where like the real diehards come out. It's like I don't care if we shoot birds, I don't care if we see birds. It's just being out there. It's setting up decoys, brushing in a spread. Like it's just it's you got to learn to love the process.
And I don't know if it's the social media standpoint of it all that people are getting away from like learning the process, because it's almost like a dying thing. Like it's like dying off, like the real passion behind it. A lot of people just think that you just jump into a field and see deer or turkey, or you're going to hear a gobble every morning. there's so much more that goes into it all. Like, and that might be, I'll say this. I think I love turkey hunting more than I do waterfowl hunting.
It's coming.
Crazy as that, oh man, I'm excited. But as crazy as that sounds, I mean, we're sitting here in the studio and it's just nothing but waterfowl besides the 2 turkey mounts. But I think you kind of touched to a point where hearing the morning, or hearing the woods just wake up and just that relaxation, hearing one of those big Easterns just fire off on the limb, dude. I tell people all the time, like, you could hear all the farm turkeys you want.
Yep.
It's not a big old Eastern sitting on a limb just hammering down at you.
My favorite video is like it's pitch black out and you can't even see anything in the video, but all you hear is just like that rip, just
man,
and just out of nowhere, and like even though
it wakes you up.
5 years ago I took that video. When I watch it now, I still get that same feeling of like
he showed that video to me like a week ago.
Yeah,
it's
genuinely
just gobbler ripping in the roost.
It's something matched.
Yeah,
absolutely unmatched.
It is tough too because like all you see is those 60-second clips, right? You see that oh, here he comes, here's the shot, here's the grip and grin, like big success,
right.
And while I love the fact that there's a digital brag board now, right? Like we can share that with each other. We can all connect.
Is that what's important though?
It is. It's important.
Well,
but
to an extent, I feel like.
Does it taint your view of what you're supposed to do as a hunter, right? Like, I'm not like bag what you want, like hunt your hunt, but be proud of every hunt you do.
Right.
Really,
no matter what, good or bad. And that's what this year, even on our waterfowl season, I really try to focus more on not posting the pile pictures or anything. Maybe showing a picture of me bringing a goose or bringing a goose back, or my other dog Ellie bringing a goose, just simple pictures like that, and not really showing the piles, because that's not what it's all about at the end of the day.
I think that's super commendable, and I literally had this conversation with Kenyon last week because we were talking about, he had that hunting tradition episode where him and his dad went out to their property and they hunted for like 4 days, didn't see a deer. And I told him, I was reading through the comments and I couldn't believe how many people are like, this is the best piece Meat Eaters ever put out. No deer were shot. They only saw 1 or 2 deer, but it was so good about telling the story of how hunting works, or just like what the process is like, the family tradition aspect. And so almost, I would say almost 100% of the people were like, I'm glad you didn't shoot a deer because it made the story that much more important. And I think social media has a huge part in that because people see, okay, we're setting up. Next thing is just a kill shot.
Right.
And people think it's like, oh, I go out, I only need to hunt for 30 minutes because I can get everything in that 30 minutes.
Right.
And that's just not the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe once a year, maybe if you're lucky, even at that. You know what I mean?
I had one deer hunt like that this year with my dad, and I was like, don't get used to this because this has never happened to me.
I got a bad story about that last year. We set up a blind Friday night. My sister's never shot a deer before, and it's a property that we bird hunt his piece, but Lou is his name. He hunts across the streets. I think he's like mid-80s or so. He shot a real nice big 12 point this year, and he's like, where I normally hunt, he's like 2 properties over, and then the other piece is right across the street where we usually bird hunt at. So I knocked on the door and wanted to know if I could deer hunt on the other side, because there's like maybe 8 trees in the whole property. Like it's just field. So I set up the blind that night. He obviously said, yeah. We set up the blind. I take my sister out in the morning, and I think it was like a week before opening day of gun season. And I told her, I said, you can shoot whatever you want. I could care less what you shoot. It does not matter to me. I just want you to get the first one down, And we're jumping deer out as we walk through the field in the morning. They're bedded out right in the middle of the field. It's like, God dang, I was kind of hoping not to do that, but whatever. So I said, you can shoot a doe, but if you're going to shoot a doe, I just want you to know there might be a buck chasing it, because like I said, it was a week before gun season. The rut was kicking like pretty good at that time. So first light comes out, and doe pops out, and she's getting real antsy about it. And I said, all right, just take your time, get the bow up, because she's using a crossbow. And she's like, oh my God, there's a big buck now chasing it. I'll have to show you a picture of this deer afterwards. He come within 20 yards broadside of the tent. And I was like, all right, just take your time. Like we talked about, right behind the shoulder, just slowly squeeze the trigger, let it scare you. She goes, I can't see. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he's 20 yards. Like, what do you mean? Like, he can't
right
see. She had her neck gator over her nose, fogged up the scope, and the deer walked off, man.
No.
I was, but taking it all in, though, what we talked about after that hunt was, as long as you're learning something at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about the kill. As long as you learn something new about that hunt where you can carry it over to the next one, that's all that matters.
As long as you enjoyed it.
100%.
Yeah.
As much frustration that came about that, not being able to pull that trigger for first one, I mean, I was half tempted to kick her down and take the bow from her. Oh man, it was a beaut. And like I said, it's just there's a bigger picture with it all.
Yeah, I mean, my 11-year-old, we had that similar situation last youth hunt in 24. We were on a property, and I mean, couldn't have asked for a better night. Like, it was the youth weekend, it was sun setting. We pulled in, and the landowner drove us back out there, and we got in the blind, elevated like box blind, and then I drove my truck back to the front and walked back in. And by the time I got back to the blind, there was 6 or 8 deer in the close.
Your daughter, you said?
My son,
Your son,
my 11-year-old son.
So he's up there by himself at this point.
So my dad was with us.
Okay,
so
okay.
3 generations, all Steves.
That's sweet.
Oh, that's even
different middle names. So none of us are juniors, but we're sitting in the blind, we're watching these deer, and I mean, beautiful 9-point sitting there.
Man.
Bunch of 6s, just kind of all, it was all bucks, this huge bachelor group. And you know, we're like, all right, like, what do you want to do? And he shoulders the rifle, and he gets one up there, and he's got it hanging out the window a little bit, and he's sitting there, and I'm like, you all right? And he's like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, all right, like, back
You don't
off,
have
it's
to.
okay. Put it down, like, we'll take a breather, let's watch him hang out, you know, we'll chill for a minute. Same thing, like 10 minutes later, he picks the gun up. I didn't even tell him. He just picks it up, he shoulders it, and he's looking through, and he's like, I'm like, are you ready? He goes, I think so. You know, 60 seconds goes by. I'm like, you okay? He's like, I don't know, man. I'm like, fine. Like,
just that jittery about it all.
Take a breath. And then, like, it was the dimming light. Like, we had 20 minutes left, and this tank of a 10-point steps out. I mean, like, beer bottle bases on it.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, Steven, like, this is the biggest deer I've ever seen in person. Like, if you're going to do this, let's do it. And he's like, all right, pick it up. And he's in there. He's like, man, I just don't know if I can do this. I'm like, hey, dude, it's okay.
Right. Give me the dang gun, though.
Yeah. Right? It was youth weekend.
Yeah, still give me the gun and your tag.
He took the gun and he hands it to my dad, and he goes, here, Papa, you do it. My dad's like, oh, buddy, if I could. I wish, right? And so then we're walking out back to the truck, and he's like, are you mad at me? And I'm like, dude, no. Like, this was one of the best nights I've ever had in a blind. Like, you and me and your grandpa, like, we saw a ton of deer.
Right.
When you're ready, you'll do it. It's no big deal. But, like, we got to watch deer. I got to tell them how they're moving, watch their heads, when they're feeding, when they're looking. I mean, there was little 6-point sparring, and then this big 9-point came in and ran them both off, and he was like, get out of here, right? And so he was like, are you mad? I'm like, no, dude, this was the best night of hunting I've ever had. Like, me and you hanging out, like, what's better? Like, and so
you don't want to carry a 200+ pound deer out of the woods now, so you're good.
Like, whatever, like, it's fine. I had a bad back, but like, it's like, dude, this was awesome. And it's just that's the memory we'll always have. It didn't matter about the harvest. It was about the moment together with 3 generations in the blind, and just all of us hanging out having fun.
Well, even extrapolating that, I mean, it shows that your son already respects killing an animal.
That's what I was going to say too.
If you're afraid to pull the trigger, that means you understand what happens when you do.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and I think that was the issue, is that, like, he's never been there with me when it's been like shot, track, gut, drag. Like, we've never
see the whole process at all.
So I think it's like a what if, what next in his head. And when he's ready, he will. And I told him, I was like, dude, I will keep taking you. Like, love you. But this was I got pictures of these deer and videos of this, and it was awesome for me.
That's awesome.
It was a youth weekend either way.
Right.
But, like, at the same time, he got to experience that with me.
Did you guys end up getting that deer or no?
Not that year, because then we don't get access during the bow season.
Yeah. Did anybody get that deer?
The landowner did.
Did he? Okay. I mean, that's cool though.
Yeah.
Still.
Did you see pictures on?
No, I didn't.
That's probably
I got
better.
a text.
You don't want pictures.
I didn't get any picture. I got a text. I was like, hey, got it. So
don't show me what
you're going into.
I was like, I don't want to see it.
Going into your son's room, like yelling at him for that. Did you see that? It was a great day.
This could be on our wall.
It was such a great day, but look at this, man. This is what we could have had on our wall.
No, we didn't go that far.
That's awesome, though. You understood your son and respected his wishes at that time, and didn't force him or anything like that. Because I feel like a lot of people force their kids, and
what I remember specifically,
ruins it.
I remember we were at a charity shoot. Actually, we were at a trap shoot, and Steve had a son there, and his son was very afraid and just like like very nervous and was just like hesitant. And yeah, to Steve's credit, he did a really good job. He's like, hey, it's okay. Like, just when you're ready, we'll shoot. Like, you don't need to go.
Right.
Don't pull the trigger if you're not ready. And like, you could tell he was nervous, but I think you approached it the right way, because it's like, if you would have said you need to fire this gun right now, he's going to be afraid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And same
you
thing
lose
with
a
the deer.
hunter.
If he shoots that deer and it's a bad experience,
misses it or whatever it may be.
No.
again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, he's got to do it on his time, and that's what I'm there to help him do.
I think that happens way too much. You know, a lot, especially in Michigan. There's so many families, history of hunting deer and stuff like that. It just, you get almost forced to do that. You know,
And it's like, to the same point, like there's so many other situations. Like, you think parents that are like, oh, my son or daughter is going to be a lawyer, they're going to be a doctor.
Right.
Like, there's just these expectations set generationally that hunting's the same way, where if you set these crazy expectations, like, they're probably not going to be as interested in it.
We had a guy today at work. I'm going to be taking his grandkids out this year for their first turkey hunts.
Awesome.
And he's like, about 40 yards would be good. I'm like, no. We're getting them in like
20.
10 to 15, and 20 is going to be our tops, because if they miss for the first time they're out there, they're not going to be happy, and they might not even want to come back, because the failure is always going to be in the back of their head.
Well, we all know how a failure, like when you miss a shot or don't take a shot and you miss a deer, you think about that for a long
time. You wound and don't recover.
Even worse.
That stays with you a long time.
Like, that was the worst part about my sister this past spring. It was kind of a run and gun situation where there was a long beard on the other side of the fence line, like a tree line. We went on one side and wrapped around and called them in. No decoy, was just kind of rushing in and set up. She's never shot a turkey before either. So she ended up missing that once she got the failure on her mind. I took a video and showed her, like, you jumped the trigger. You were scared of the recoil, which is fine. But this is what she did. We just need to work on that. That's all. A couple weeks later, a week or two went by. I had 5 long beards in front of her. Missed those ones. Which is also fine, but like it's like, just take your time with it all. Don't rush it, but the failure is always in the back of their head with it all, and that's what it's hard to break people when it gets to that certain point.
Yeah, it takes a while to overcome.
100%. MUCC though, you guys do a lot of like youth events and a lot of just events in general. Do you guys want to talk to me about those events?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give like the elevator pitch if that works, So MUCC,
salesman right here.
Yeah. Development.
My dad was a car salesman, so forgive me. So Michigan United Conservation Clubs, MUCC, we were founded in 1937. So for over 87 years, we have been uniting citizens to conserve, protect, and enhance Michigan's natural resources and outdoor heritage. So in a nutshell, we are here to protect our right to hunt, fish, and trap. We do 4 main pillars of our work. One is advocacy, the other is education, the other is habitat, and the final one is communication. So through advocacy, MUCC is very unique in the nation because we have a grassroots policy setting process. So that means every single member of our 40,000 members, they have the option to submit a resolution. And so every year at our annual convention, throughout the year, we have resolutions come up about everything from APRs to, commercial fishing to spearfishing.
That's getting big now lately.
Yep.
We had one this year around market hunting. We have, the support of Proposal G. So
removing hunter's orange.
Yeah.
Now, is the market hunting more of like the outfitters wise for the licenses?
It's kind of a preemptive move to say, hey, with the doe issue that's in the lower half of the southern half of the lower peninsula, we do not want the answer to be market hunting, right? To where, because we've seen how that goes down the slippery slope a lot of times, and that's where we've had to overcome all these issues because everything was market hunted in the early days. So we're unique with that advocacy and that policy process where every member of MUCC has a voice, whether you're a club member through our 200 affiliate clubs or you're an individual member and you're just a member of MUCC, you can submit a resolution. Our policy guy, Justin, will work with you. And whether, it can be any topic that's a natural resources issue. No species are off limits. Everything from bears to fur-bearing species to ducks to deer, everything. So it goes through kind of a vetting process, and then if it makes it to our annual convention, where the membership comes together, we vote on it. Like it's
It's a whole process.
I mean, it's
of it.
literally guys raising cards saying, I'm in favor. My club is in favor.
Yeah, like, so in the vein of like a democratic republic, right? Like
That's what I was thinking of.
How we are supposed to be as a nation, where the majority voice can, and certain things take like a super majority or a 2/3
something
majority.
way out in left field or
to
something.
create new legislation.
Right.
Yeah, if we're lobbying officials, we don't want to flip flop like on these issues. So it takes a large majority of the membership to actually like make us go to work on it. But it's neat because every year we get our marching orders from the membership. So like Tyler and I and Justin and our executive director, CEO Amy, we don't get to decide what we work on.
Right.
So like when we filed the lawsuit against the NRC on the closure of the coyote season, that was because the membership stood up and said, this is not science-based. This is nothing to do with like management. Like this is social. So like we need to take action. So we're very grassroots in that aspect of what we oppose, what we support, and what we stay neutral on. Because if we don't get the majority vote, we have to stay neutral. So like APRs is a big issue in Michigan, right? We can't get our membership to actually get us to that majority one way or the other. So we are neutral on APRs right now. Like we don't have a dog in the fight. We have a lot of voices around the table talking about it, but as an organization, we stay neutral on that topic. So we're not going to oppose it. We're not going to support it. And then so that advocacy and policy process is elevating the sportsman and sportswoman's voice in Lansing, because a lot of these decisions are made through the Natural Resources Commission, the NRC, through the DNR, or through the legislature, so through our elected officials. So we take every member's voice and we bring it to Lansing, and we allow you to use your voice to protect our outdoor heritage.
Which is huge, just a voice in general. 100%. Just to have a voice and can make a difference.
And we say 40,000 members. I want to be at 250,000 members, because the louder our voice gets, the more they're going to listen, the more that they're going to check with us on things. Like they're not going to pass some fishing bill. There was a bill in 2023 that came out of Ann Arbor that wanted to allow commercial harvest for game fish like walleye and perch. And we shut it. We sent 85,000 emails in a day.
We shut down an entire legislator's office.
We killed
they couldn't work.
the bill. Like we killed that bill.
Look what it did to the
awesome,
smelt. The smelt are like gone now because all the Chinese. What did you just say? I'm like
gill netting and the commercial fishing.
Yeah, commercial fishermen like they're out there that are just like have the planes that are flying over, see the mass of them there, and just they're gone around here.
Yeah. So the great thing about MUCC is that your voice is carried to the Capitol, and we get to have change and have power as outdoorsmen and women. That education piece is huge for us too. So that other pillar of education, we run the Michigan Outdoors Youth Camp. It's out of Chelsea, Michigan right now. It's moved out. It's moved around a couple times throughout the years, but we're at the Waterloo State Rec area right now. We operate a 240-acre facility where we host about 300 kids this summer. Weekly camps, overnight camps, day camps for the young kids.
That's awesome.
They do archery, they do fishing, they shoot 22s, they learn about ecology and the North American wildlife model of conservation.
And then this year we have someone that you guys work with a lot. We have GK Calls coming in to do a calling seminar, and all the students in that week get a free GK call.
That's
so
sweet.
it's awesome.
And they get their hunter safety, right?
Yeah, so we had 99.
That's huge.
We had 99 new hunter safety graduates come out of camp this last summer. We've got trapping demonstrations, we have fishing demonstrations. So the kids really get to start their own outdoor heritage right there at the camp with us, whether they harvested their first buck at 7, or we have kids show up and they've never heard crickets or they've never seen stars. Like it's the gamut.
They're just in the house. And that's what we were talking about, the video gaming and everything else with this younger generation.
And we have scholarships available. There's tons of organizations and clubs that will send kids there at no cost to their family. So it's a great opportunity for that next generation of conservation stewards. And we're actually building a brand new archery range in the fall. We're going to have a state-of-the-art 40-yard range. We're going to look to redo our 3D course as well, do some elevated blinds, elevated platforms. We're going to get all new equipment. We're right on a lake, so the kids fish and paddle every day.
Kayak.
They get to kayak. Awesome. They get to swim. They do shelter building. Like they do all kinds of cool stuff. And then
it's like the stuff that we dreamed about as kids. Like this would be super cool. That's what they're doing.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then on top of that is our Tracks magazine. So young readers, like 4th through 6th grade. It's every month they get a new issue. So think of like a Ranger Rick Jr. But this is all Michigan species.
That's awesome.
And like zebras and elephants and lions are really cool. But we have a magazine that's going to teach the kids.
Let's protect us here first, and then we can branch out.
About, like one of the issues this year was like cougars, right? And now we have the cougar population in the UP. We've got insects and birds and game species and fish and amphibians. Like all the things that it's a young readers mag. They get one a month throughout the school year.
That's
so
sweet.
for $20 a year, your kid can get a new magazine every month through the school year, learn about Michigan species. And so that education piece is a huge thing for us. We do a women's hunter safety. We do in the fall, all the camp kids get invited to do a pheasant hunt. We're working with the Michigan Deer Collaborative for the farm tour to get those kids out to do a doe hunt. And so we're trying to get those kids integrated into the outdoors. Right. And so education's a big piece of what we do. And then that habitat side, we actually do public land improvement as well. So we have OTG, or on the ground. Okay. We do about 30 events a year out on public land, improving habitat, river and stream cleanup, brush pile building for small game, edge softening, invasive species removal, native pollinator and tree plantings. Like, it's 30 to 40 volunteers on a Saturday. So it's not tens of thousands of acres, but you're getting out there.
You're making a dent.
Yeah, you're getting hands-on with conservation.
Right.
Since 2013, we've improved over 4,000 acres. We've had over 28,000 volunteer hours. So
wow, that's
it's
insane.
Even though it's not, these big operations, it's still a pretty sizable number of volunteers.
And they're for people of all ages. Yeah. Like, you can bring your whole family out there. You can come out, get involved, and really
understand we had an infant last year. Someone brought their 8-month-old kid
in a backpack carrier,
and they were planting trees while they were just holding their kid on the chest.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, that habitat piece is big for us because Michigan public lands are like second to none. I mean, east of the Mississippi, we have the second largest percentage of public lands in the U.S.
Really? Michigan does?
Yeah.
Really?
So if you go east of the Mississippi, there's one other state that has more public lands than we do. And so that's a big piece for us to improve and protect those as well. And then our communications, that last pillar is communications, where we have our Michigan Outdoors magazine. That's a member benefit. So as an individual member, you're going to get a magazine sent home every quarter, 4 times a year. It's Michigan's premier outdoor journal. Tells all the stories and pursuits, and it keeps you updated on what you need to know. Talks about all the great adventures you can have in the state. We have the podcast that Tyler and I run, and then we also just have our Conservation Insider. So as a member, you can even sign up for the Insider as not even a member. So you can go to our website, MUCC.org, sign up for the newsletter. Every other week, you're going to get a rundown of everything, excuse me, of everything that we're doing and everything that's going on. So from our fundraising events to kids camp to habitat projects to policy things that we're working on, even updates to new sponsors and partners. Like, so anyone, I would say, listening, go sign up for the Insider, and then you get to know us a little bit, and you'll see what we're doing to protect your right to hunt, fish, and trap.
Because I think we actually have a couple kids going through Pointe Mouillee or GDHA.
Pointe Mouillee and GDHA. We teamed up. We're sponsoring 2 kids to go out.
Okay, to that camp. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so we'll have 2 of our local kids here. Yeah. But that's awesome because you don't hear about that a lot.
And that's been it's like the best kept secret in Michigan. Like for 87 years, I mean, like we passed the bottle bill back in the 70s.
What is that?
Like, so the bottle bill is what put the deposit on all these cans. So keeping track, incentivizing the fact that don't throw your beer bottle out the window.
Right.
Like, bring it back in and let's keep our wild
MUCC
places.
did that?
Yeah. So we led that initiative. In the 90s, we did Proposal G. So we led, it was a voter-led initiative that said and mandated into law that the NRC, the Natural Resources Commission, must manage our game species based on the best scientific evidence available. So no political agendas, no social agendas, that it is law that they have to manage our game species based on harvest, method of take, bag limits. All that stuff has to be based in science. So that's a law in Michigan. It's called Proposal G. It's one of the cornerstones of why Michigan has such a great, robust outdoor heritage. And then in the 2000s, we were the ones that established the youth mentor license in Michigan. So all those, like my 3 kids used it. So 9 and under, you can hunt on that mentor license. And then you have that 2-year apprentice license, and then you got to get hunter safety certified. But MUCC changed the law that we established the youth mentor license. And so we've done all these huge things, but I mean, we were talking earlier, like in 2020, when there was the boating ban during COVID, we filed a lawsuit against the governor and overturned that unconstitutional ruling that said, no, you're allowed to go on your boat during COVID. Like, social distance, go fish, go duck hunt, go do whatever. So anybody who was on their boat in 2020 owes MUCC a high five, just because we were the ones that filed the lawsuit. We're currently in a lawsuit against the NRC to overturn the coyote closure. So we're doing all these things, but we've never really been good at telling our story. Like we've never been able to like get ourselves out there to the public. So with like Tyler and myself and some other things that we're doing that are new, like we are excited to tell that story because people will be like, holy shit, I didn't know you guys did so much.
Oh, yeah.
So with Proposal G, though, wouldn't that go like against everything about the coyote situation?
So that's why
we filed the lawsuit.
So we call it the illegal partial closure of the coyote season because it did not follow Prop G. It followed social pressure from other stakeholders that didn't want to see coyotes getting hunted, basically.
Because everything's fine until like their pet gets harmed or something.
So we brought 300 pages of peer-reviewed scientific studies to the NRC that said this is not science-based, that the springtime is actually the best time to control local populations, right? And coyotes are doing so well in the state of Michigan, you cannot kill enough of them to damage the population.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
You have coyotes on Woodward Avenue in downtown Detroit.
It's insane.
I think I seen one the other morning.
I mean,
they're
in all 83 counties. And so based on the science, there was no reason for the closure. It was, and I quote, perceived social perception about hunting mothers in the spring with pups in their den.
And the worst part about that is too, because like last year I even had coyotes run out and damn near take out my turkey decoys, and you can't do nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when all the poult are dropping, the fawns are dropping, where they can't obviously do a thing. They're laying there, and you know they're the size of a ball mitt or something out there, and they're not going to move. So what's that going to do with our deer population, our turkey population? Because I feel like our turkey population, especially around where we hunt, is growing tremendously. But I'll say the whole state is growing tremendously, but there was a time where it was like almost nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to be having these coyotes running around and the moms are feeding the pups, and you know, it's just going to wipe everything out over time, you know.
So coyotes are the number one predator of fawns. And so, and you know, you look at ground nesting birds, and so again, based on the science, there was no reason for that closure, we believe, as based through Proposal G. And so that's why we entered into the lawsuit. And so we're hoping for some news in April. So
April 10th, the NRC meeting, there's going to be, it's up for action. So there will be an actual vote taken on whether or not they're going to reopen the rest of the season.
So we're hoping for good news in April that will be reinstated to a full year-round season. So,
and that's a hard thing too, even with like on the bird topic of it all, like the ground nesting birds and the trappers nowadays are almost like eliminated. Like no one's really trapping as much as they used to, and that's taking a big toll. I think there was Pheasants Forever like put $1 million at each. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago? You know what I'm talking about, or no?
Well, there's the pheasant release program too.
Okay, so maybe that was it then.
I think that's it.
Yeah, the $25 pheasant license basically and then that funded.
Yeah, it's a pheasant stamp.
Funded,
but it was like $12 million or something like that to go back towards Michigan state land, and they released a bunch of pheasants on.
Yep.
Did you guys?
Yeah, so we were a part of that. So we worked with Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, and we actually got the funding and the approval for that program. It was going to be sunsetted, I think, last year.
Next year.
Next year.
So
we got the extension.
25 or 6.
Okay.
But we got the extension through 31. So that was like extended because it was going to sunset, but we helped get the extension. So
I think that's still one of our legislative priorities is to remove the sunset.
Yeah. And then we've also been a partner in the fact that they've expanded more release areas. So in the beginning there was like 9, and I think it's like 12 or 7. So we've continued to help move the marble on the fact that there's more places so they're not so crowded. And so that program continues to grow. And I mean, pheasants they're a native species. You know, we've lost a lot of habitat around them. But again, that was brought to us by a member of MUCC to start the Michigan Pheasant Hunting Initiative, and we helped move that through the process.
See, the hardest part I see with that is with that amount of money and trying to give back to the pheasant population in the state, you almost have to start at the very bottom, right? Because if you're going to put all this money into it, the raccoons and everything else that are taking the nests away or eating all the eggs, you throw however much money you want into it, it might not make even a dent into it because the predator population in the state.
Doing about that,
that's the hardest part with all of that.
And that speaks to like the importance of MUCC because like we're not speciated, right? Like hunt, fish, and trap is our big things, right? And you see a lot of states where trapping has been outlawed or limited, or there's lots of regulations on trapping. And Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, one of our greatest partners in the state, really, MTPCA, they are an awesome crew. And they're coming to camp to teach kids about trapping and predator calling. And we do not want to be the next state that loses, hound hunting. We don't want to lose trapping.
Anything.
Right. So,
and we'll expand opportunity.
Right.
Those things are on the chopping block. Like, if you look across the nation, like, people think trapping is inhumane, but it's a necessary management tool that you got to have and be able to protect. And so that speaks to MUCC, where you might feel like a marginalized community, but when you hop on with us and you have the voice and the capacity,
the backbone of it all,
we all need to protect each other.
Right.
We all have to pitch in, whether you're a duck hunter, a deer hunter, a turkey guy, a trapper. We all have to protect that outdoor heritage, and that's what we're here to do.
Well, and that's what makes us so unique, too, is because at the NRC meetings especially, you hear a lot of stakeholder groups that talk, and they're speaking so anecdotally. Oh, I've been driving around and I haven't seen any bears, or I haven't been seeing deer, so we don't have any deer left. And it's, a lot of people make these arguments based off their own anecdotal research of just driving around areas and saying, oh, I don't see deer. That doesn't mean that there's not as much deer. We follow the science. Whatever the biologists tell us, this is the science. That's what we follow. You won't see us fighting science. If that is the scientific fact, that is what the science shows. Right. That is fact. We are going to follow that.
And I feel like we all learned that at a very young age, that it's science. There's no getting around that.
Yep.
And that's, I've said it multiple times on this podcast too, because we got a couple of our buddies that are real big into the coyote hunting, and they do all the big tournaments around here.
It's so much fun.
It is.
When they first opened up the tailgate of the truck, I thought we were going to war. I was like, what are we doing right now?
Thermal suppressors, ARs. Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, here's a mono, and just watch out for that. And then I'm going to sit behind this. I'm like, dude, I don't even want to touch this thing because it's like $8,000 alone. Yeah, man. What were we doing?
They're a passionate crew, man.
Oh, they definitely are. But I've always said though, it's they take it away, it's gonna be that much harder to get it back. One, but two, what a lot of people don't understand, that time frame where they took it away. You can't. Excuse me. They obviously can't hunt them then. But when it comes back into season, that's when all the crops are tall enough to where you can't even go out there. So that's another 3 to 4 months on top of the season being closed that you're not going to be able to hunt them. Yep. So you only have maybe 3 or 4 months out of the year where you can really target those animals because of crops being down and stuff like that. But I don't think a lot of people realize that. Maybe the wheat fields, obviously, but by us anyway, I know Lansing area has a lot of wheat, but by us, we don't have a lot of wheat. So that's just, it's horrible.
Yep. And that's our bedrock, is that scientific management process that we will always uphold, because there's a reason why we harvest certain things at a certain time of the year, and you're not gonna hurt coyotes harvesting them year round,
right?
And it's gonna help the other game species,
and it's shown over the years. They're still everywhere, man. There's one topic that I've been really itching to get at, is the goose population with gassing them.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we've been hearing a lot about that lately.
I want to bring up that because it's been popping up on people's timelines, and I was just told recently about it being over a year. I thought it just kind of popped up. It was my understanding about it. Mm-hmm. Did it or no? When did it first come about?
Well, I want to preface this too with our coworker Justin's going to yell at us for anything that we say. So
okay,
because we're not the policy people. No, we're happy to talk on it. But don't whatever we say there might be error. We're not the policy people.
Right.
Yeah, to my knowledge, this has been going on for a while. MUCC's policy is to, we support relocation to allow for more hunting. So we don't have a policy on the gassing specifically. One thing I've noticed a lot of people have been saying is, well, we don't take enough geese. We need more hunting season. We need more liberal bag limits. What people don't understand is all of that is set by federal frameworks, right? They're a migratory bird. We cannot, the state of Michigan is as liberal as we can get when it comes to goose seasons.
The entire full 105 days.
So we max out all the days.
The daily bag limit is 5. We have everything we do is at the maximum the federal government will allow us to do in Michigan.
Well, mind you, not that long ago, it was 1 or 2 birds per person instead of the 5 that we have, and then we didn't have. Was the early season or the late season?
Took it away.
The 2-day split at the end.
No, it was like the late goose season. After that, we didn't have one of the two for the longest time, and then I think it was like 3 years ago, they prolonged the goose season in like the February, January.
Yeah, so there's a certain amount of days you can do, and then you're allowed. Don't quote me on this. I want to say it's 2 to 4 days of a split, and the state of Michigan they have the opportunity to put that split where they want.
Oh, that's what it was. It was a 2 day strategic. It was a 2 day duck split where you can kill ducks and geese, but then there was a week after that where you can kill another 5 geese per day. That we always didn't have. It was always just the 2 days.
That was it.
And then the late goose after that. Yep. So we didn't have that week. That's what it was.
And I've heard people say where it's like, well, we need more waterfowl hunters. And we do. Like, we need more people. I think
it's the number one declining. And part of hunting, waterfowl is the single most declining, species of hunting.
Now, do you think it's because it was such a high rise during like that Duck Dynasty era, quote unquote, where it went outrageous and the numbers were just absolutely through the roof, and then now it's kind of just getting back to like that normal stage?
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, I think a lot of it too is just the cost. Like, I think, and time and access. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a boat and you don't have decoys, you don't have a dog
or access to a field,
you're limited to what you can do. And I think, as a waterfowl hunter myself, I think that's the biggest thing is there's only so much public land, and, it gets crowded and people are turned off by that, and it can be difficult. If you don't have a boat, you're limited on where you can go. If you don't have private access, there's only so many public fields you can goose hunt in. You know what I mean? So anecdotally, I think that's part of it. I don't know if it's necessarily a fall off from like the Duck Dynasty era, which, I think there's a lot of variables that go into that.
And this is a great call to action too, to kind of bring it full circle. Well, it's like, if you have an issue with what's going on, join MUCC, write a resolution, and if it passes convention, we will go to work on it.
Right.
Like, if this is something that bothers you, don't sit and scream into the void or yell at clouds and yell at clouds while you're out there. Like, get involved, get engaged. We don't have a policy on it, so we don't take a stance on the gassing issue. Like Tyler said, we want the relocation because that was what we have policy on. So we can't speak to something that we don't have policy on. We can't fight for you. If you have an issue with it, sign up, get in the trenches, pull your waders up and let's go. Like, you got to do the work to let us work for you. But at the same time, the thing that we struggle with is just that it's at the MDNR, but it's a federal issue.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and we play in the federal game too. Like, we deal with the Brandon Road Lock and Dam, which is keeping Asian carp out of the Great Lakes. We deal with a lot of federal stuff that helps because we have federal lands here in the state of Michigan. We have forest lands and all these things like that. So we're playing in both. We're very Michigan focused, but we're playing with the feds too. So
our CEO just went to a wolf conference a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, way out west
to discuss with all state stakeholders, like the other MUCCs of their states. She went out and met with all of these really key stakeholders to discuss what's going to happen with wolves. How are we going to move forward? How are we prepping for this? And that's a federal level, and that's stuff that we're involved in.
Because that's probably what I hate the most with either donating your time or even conservation in itself. Kind of like what we're about to be doing here soon. We're gonna go eat, go yell at the TV at the Michigan State basketball game.
Go green.
I'm gonna not go that route. I'll say that.
Nobody said go white,
but I'll say go away all day.
No, I'm gonna say just go blue. But
Western.
We're gonna be sitting there eating at a TV, screaming at somebody that they're not playing defense or something like that. Just like the outdoors though, right? Like, people want to complain about the dates and all this other stuff, but then
armchair quarterbacks.
They don't want to do something about it, And it's like the Pointe Mouillee Waterfowl Festival. People complain. The meetings are open to public.
Ours are too.
Yep.
So why don't you show up and voice your opinion? Because, that might open up a whole new realm for somebody, or the board members or whoever. Just a different look at stuff. You know what I mean?
And honestly, the stories we get, we have so many members that tell stories about hey, I came in as a naive individual just wanting to change something, and I gave my opinion and I created a resolution, and now it's law. And it's actually in statute today.
Which is awesome to even know that one MUCC is behind it, but that person had that voice to change.
Yeah, and you guys allow people to have that voice too, though.
Yeah, going back to the youth mentor license, right? We originally started the youth mentor license because it was he's currently the president of our board, but he's an electrician out of Dorr, Michigan. Like, he owns a gun shop. He's an electrician. He's a good, hardworking dude. And he founded the Michigan Bow Fishing Association, and he got involved with MUCC. And his thing was like, it's about ability, not age. Like, I don't want the state to tell me when my kid can go hunt, right? Like, I know they have the ability. Why do they have to wait till they're 12 or 14 years old to hunt with me? Like, I can take them out. I can learn that. And he brought this to convention the first year. It failed. Like, he didn't have it. Like, he had to get his ducks in a row. He had to make some allies. He had to kind of work the process. But then after it passed, not long after that, he was at the Capitol in Lansing with the governor signing something into law. Like, he got to be, just like a normal dude. And now he's worked his way up, and he's the president of our board. And that's anybody's story. Like, anybody has that chance. And we just took that youth mentored license and we expanded it to people with disabilities and cognitive impairments. So, like, if you can't go and pass a traditional hunter safety course, you don't have to age out of hunting. Because say you have a child with autism or some special needs issue, and they hunt on that youth mentor license till they're 9. They utilize the apprentice license till they're 12. But then for some reason, if they can't pass that written course, if they can't pass their traditional hunter safety course, they're done hunting. Like, and that's not their fault. Like, they didn't ask to be born with that disability or that special need. But what we did is we went and changed that law again. And now that mentor license, anyone with a special needs or disability can hunt on that license in perpetuity. So, like, we know Brad Dupuy of Angler Quest. He has a special needs son. And that was a huge topic for him because his son was able to pass the test. But if you, like, one of the COs that was testifying, there was a mother who was testifying, like, listen, my family and my kid did not choose to have this issue in our lives,
right?
But they've been hunting for 12 years now. And because they can't go past a traditional course, they're out of the woods. They're done.
Yeah, why restrict these people?
And so now you, with the proper medical documentation, you can hunt on that mentor license for perpetuity. So you still have to be within arm's reach of a licensed hunter. You got to have that assistance. You got to be there with somebody. But we're not kicking people out of the woods for something they didn't choose. So, like, everybody has a voice. Everybody can get involved in it. And honestly, it's our generation that's got to keep it going because we've had our fathers, our grandfathers. We've carried this heritage for many, many years. It's our chance to step up and carry the water, make the change, hold people accountable.
Yeah. Now, going back to the whole goose situation, do you guys know where, like, the whole gas chambers thing is funded from?
I don't.
I know you guys said you're not, like, into that whole thing because, and this is the reason why I'm getting at this. Let's just say hypothetically, and I'm going to say right now, that's a big word for me, just saying hypothetically, because I get tongue twisted. So, like, I just did just there. But if that's getting funded by our state, our DNR, with DNR's salary, just an officer going down, I think it's like, what, 40% or something like that over the last few years, and the state's doing that, but then want to raise the prices on other tags. Shame on the state for doing that. How does that even make sense?
I'm not
sure.
I said,
that's hypothetically speaking.
I'm not sure the direct funding for that, the gassing program, but I will say that MUCC has a stance that we do advocate for sustainable funding for the DNR.
Long-term funding.
Long-term sustainable funding. We don't have any specifics on license fee increases or whether or not they get money out of the general fund. Because the DNR gets zero money out of the state's general fund. Like, everything we do is pay to play. You know, the funding model is all license based, and that's kind of the issue with it, is that we support sustainable long-term funding because without the biologists, without the COs, without these people, we lose the pristine
science that we need. Well,
because I mean, think of the
management.
Think about the amount of opportunity we have in this state. Like, we have the second most coastline in the continental 48. Like, we have the Great Lakes. We've got all the public land. We have a ton of great things going on, and without the people to take care of it, we're going to lose it. So we do support the idea that the DNR does need to be funded in order to do the things that they need to do. I can't speak to where the funds come from around the gassing program or even any specific program in itself. But again, this is something where we'll do a call to action to say, hey, If you want us to take a different approach, if you want us to have a different view, sign up, step up, and get involved. But we do believe that those biologists, those wildlife techs, those COs, those need to be funded so that we can. I mean, Prop G is based on the fact that we have the science.
Right.
If we don't have the science, we can't uphold Prop G. So there is that general thing that says we support long-term sustainable funding. How that happens, we don't really get in the nitty-gritty on it.
The only thing I'll throw in on the goose too is I remember a presentation from Barb Avers last year, who was the acting waterfowl specialist at the DNR. And I don't remember the exact numbers. I want to say our target, number of geese in the state, I want to say it was like 120 to 160,000 geese. I could be off. I believe the last time they checked, we were at like 240,000.
I was gonna say, I believe a couple 100,000.
So we were. I remember it was 80,000 over what we wanted.
Local geese, like.
I don't know if they were residents or what that process looks like of how they're counting, but the number they wanted, we were 80,000 over in population of geese. So obviously, when we have that surplus of geese, there's and I'm not advocating for gassing at all. We don't have a policy. I'm not advocating for that. But when you have 80,000 geese over what you want your target management number to be, steps have to be taken. And gassing might not be the solution. There might be better ways to do it. Again, we support relocation to allow for hunting those geese. But at the same level, if we are maxed out federally on how many days we can hunt, how many birds we can take, there's only, even if every hunter was out there, we're only going to have a certain impact on that. So there does need to be something. I don't know what that answer is. I don't know what the solution is. But I do know we are at a huge surpless of geese in the state.
But if you have the answer, reach out and submit a resolution.
The thing is, too, that kind of going back to dissecting like what you love to do. Like if you love waterfowl like I do, you're going to find birds to hunt, right? And people maybe not harvesting enough geese like they think they should. And maybe that's why that's kind of getting pushed on it more. Like, why don't you open the season or the numbers or whatever it may be, gassing them and throwing them out basically because they're 100% wrong, in my opinion.
Into a landfill.
Right. But people also need to do the work behind the hunt itself, I guess.
Well, that's something we push a lot too. Is hunting is
take a friend hunting.
Well, hunting is the single best management tool that we have in our arsenal. Like there is no better way for us to manage populations than with hunting. But additionally, when you're seeing declining hunting numbers in waterfowl, especially, it is tough to get if you think about it, if we need to shoot 80,000 birds, the average waterfowler, I don't know how many geese a year they shoot, but maybe 10, like if we're averaging it out, because you get a lot of people that don't shoot any, you get a lot of guys that go out to shoot hundreds a year.
Right.
But, even if we had all these numbers, like we just don't have the hunter population anymore to be able to actively and effectively manage that population.
But again, I feel like it's very important for people to do their homework behind, like I said, the hunt itself. Like you can't drive by a field, just jump out there and think you're just going to murder the geese next to it. Like understand what you're hunting, like the whole history behind it all. Understand you're going to find birds to hunt, right? And people maybe not harvesting enough geese like they think they should. And maybe that's why that's kind of getting pushed on it more. Like, why don't you open the season or the numbers or whatever it may be, gassing them and throwing them out basically because they're 100% wrong, in my opinion.
Into a landfill.
Right. But people also need to do the work behind the hunt itself, I guess.
Well, that's something we push a lot too. Is hunting is
take a friend hunting.
Well, hunting is the single best management tool that we have in our arsenal. Like there is no better way for us to manage populations than with hunting. But additionally, when you're seeing declining hunting numbers in waterfowl, especially, it is tough to get if you think about it, if we need to shoot 80,000 birds, the average waterfowler, I don't know how many geese a year they shoot, but maybe 10, like if we're averaging it out, because you get a lot of people that don't shoot any, you get a lot of guys that go out to shoot hundreds a year.
Right.
But, even if we had all these numbers, like we just don't have the hunter population anymore to be able to actively and effectively manage that population.
But again, I feel like it's very important for people to do their homework behind, like I said, the hunt itself. Like you can't drive by a field, just jump out there and think you're just going to murder the geese next to it. Like understand what you're hunting, like the whole history behind it all. Understand, like, I don't know. I get very technical when it comes to that kind of stuff. And maybe that is because like how we are successful with it all. I just don't think there's enough people. They just want to go out there and post a picture of the actual.
Well, you guys are doing your part too, right? You talk about taking your sister. You talk about taking friends. Like, I've over the 3 years I've been here, I've lost the patience for complaining if you're not actually offering solutions, right? Like, if I get it, I don't agree. Like, if you don't agree with gassing, I get that. Like, I understand that. But my next question would be, how many people did you take goose hunting? Like, how many people did you introduce to it? Like, how, like, what are you doing to help us not have to have this as that choice?
Right.
So there is a huge aspect to the fact of, like, we're all here to do the same thing. We're all here to have great experiences. We're all here to have outdoor heritage to pass down to the next generation. But it does take work on our part too. Yeah. Like, we gotta step up, and we gotta be. We have to be the solution.
Oh, and waterfowl, as we know, is one of the most cutthroat sports out there, man. Like, try to get into a group of guys, like the wall's up. You're not going with them. If you
I'm
are
not showing you my spot, you know,
you're getting blindfolded going out to the hole in the morning. You know.
Yeah. Speaking about giving back though, we do a lot with GDHA and Pointe Mouillee, and just getting people out in general. Like GDHA, we how many kids? Like 70, 80 kids. We give them decoys, duck calls, everything, and.
Also sponsored by Glenn with the duck calls.
So I think that's huge what we do, but there's not a whole lot of groups that give these kids, a
reason to go back out every year.
Stuff, because it does get expensive, and that's what's great about GDHA. We give those kids the basic tools to go out and go waterfowl hunting. There's not a whole lot of other places that do that.
And those kids maybe involved. There is though, and kind of like what you guys were saying earlier too. Maybe the exposure towards those other groups that are giving back just isn't big enough. Because if you go, well, okay, this perfect example. You guys didn't know GDH did those youth hunts. Mm-mm. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe there are groups like that, but they're just not
aware of it.
Because social media, I feel like is, I think I brought this up on one of the last podcasts that we did, that you don't want to add fuel to the fire of the people that are trying to take it away from you, right? Like, you kind of got to still do it to the right extent, and that's just my opinion towards it. Like, you don't have to throw the 100 geese out or whatever every single post and make people think like it's some crazy murder, killer, whatever it is. But just really understanding everything. I kind of lost my train of thought there, to be honest with you, but you want to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons with it all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I lost my train of thought completely.
We have a great partner with Mike Avery. So, like, Mike Avery Outdoors, like, longtime staple radio show, used to be a TV host, and he was at our convention, and he was just talking about, in his pitch, about, like, being, like, respecting the harvest when you post it. Right.
Like, well, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
exactly.
Using social media to make us look better instead of making us look in a negative light.
Like, hey, when you shoot a deer and you're taking a picture, like, put the tongue back in its mouth.
Maybe flip it over,
flip it over and don't show the pool of blood it's sitting in.
And I get the other side of stuff where you want the natural and raw posts and stuff. I understand that. But you don't have to have a bloodbath around you or whatever it may be. Just respect what you are killing, and then that way you're not adding complaints from the other side. Like, we've been walking out of fields where people are honking, driving back and forth, trying to scare the birds out or flipping you off when you're walking. Yep. That's fine, but
it's also against the law.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a whole conversation alone too. But over time, I've learned more of, like, okay, I'm going to just respectfully, even though we're not doing anything wrong with any of this, I don't want, like I said, adding fuel to their fire, because you're not going to change their mind on how they feel. And I think that might be just the downside of, like, the social media aspect of it.
I think it goes both ways too, because, if we're talking about hunting, there's a lot. Coyotes are a great example, right? Like, the season was closed because of social pressure. If the non-hunters understood, like, hey, I don't want to go shoot a coyote by myself, right? I'm not going to pull that trigger. I don't want that. But I understand and respect that other people are doing it for a management purpose. So it goes both ways. Like, I absolutely agree that hunters need to be more respectful of non-hunters. And we need to do a better job of showing that, hey, there's a reason we're doing this. We're not just all bloodthirsty murderers. We're doing it because we respect the game, because we want to manage the game, and ultimately we want to eat the game that we're harvesting. And so we need to show respect as well, because, not all the non-hunters are going to show that level of respect, but we can always be the bigger person and say, hey, hey, I understand this is a touchy subject and you don't want to see all these dead animals that I'm showing. So I'm going to do a little bit better job of just being more respectful to those that don't want to see all that.
And that's why nobody deserves to see this side of things. But like for me personally, I like to show us prepping a meal or something like that along those lines. It's just to show people that kind of side of everything.
Yeah. There's a purpose.
Right. And then the other side of it all, though, is the keyboard warriors will say, right, if somebody comments on a picture and just down talks the entire hunt and like murders, this, that, and the other, it's the people that are like going back towards that person and talking down on their opinion, I guess. They have their own opinion. You're not going to change it, and that's it. Just let them say whatever they're going to say. Again, you're just adding stuff that they can come back with you, come back at you.
I think you make that argument with anything, though. The social
100%.
Social media is horrible for everything
100%.
because it's just, people want to argue about everything. And it doesn't matter if it's hunting or eating, eating
fast food or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's, people just want to complain about everything nowadays.
Right. I mean,
we have to come together. And honestly, you'll even see people who are hunters themselves talking down on someone else's hunt or experience or post
it's insane, man.
And
it's
we
crazy.
have to come together. If we love what we do, you hunt your hunt, I'm gonna hunt mine.
Right.
As long as you're legal, as long as it's good.
As long as you're having fun at the end of the day, and legal and fun. Safe wise, but
the story about my kid, I could have I did post that on my personal page.
I thought you were gonna say poach. To be honest with you, I was like, whoa, flag. I'll edit that one out.
If I posted that and then someone was like, oh, your kid didn't shoot it, blah, blah, blah. It's
talking down. It's like, dude, it's 11-year-old. My son's 11. So what are you talking about?
We do see that too. And so I would say, we got to come together as a hunting outdoor community.
100%.
If we get divide and conquer, right? If they divide us, if they separate us, if they get us fighting with each other, we're going to lose it faster than we can blink.
They already won if we're fighting each other.
Exactly.
We have to come together as an outdoor community and really protect, again, Proposal G, outdoor heritage, science-based management, hunting as the #1 management tool of any species. That's what we want. When we need to come together on that.
Now, another question that I was going to ask you guys, which is, two questions I'm going to have. One, they're both way off topic from each other. Not way off topic, but everybody wants to hear about these two. One is is baiting coming back in Michigan?
Okay,
we've been asked about that.
Well, and I'm gonna say what I heard is that you're gonna have to buy a permit to bait.
So
I'll separate these two because they're kind of.
So again, we're gonna get yelled at because Justin's a policy guy. So what I will tell you is I'll tell you MUCC's current stance on it. Some things that we know have happened, but I can't answer the question, is it coming back?
Okay.
So currently, MUCC, based on our member-driven policy process, we oppose baiting in the lower. That is come from the science, the disease transmission. It comes from our membership said that we oppose, as an organization, baiting in the lower. We support it in the upper. We oppose it in the lower. We did have a resolution submitted this past year to bring baiting back in non-disease counties or non-disease adjacent counties in the lower. It didn't make it to convention due to some rewrites and some amendments that happened. But there has been conversations, I believe, at the state level around a baiting permit, around trying to bring that back. So I don't know what's going to happen to it,
right?
But I can tell you conversations are being had. And again, if you want baiting, and
speak about it, you come to the
you don't like MUCC's stance on that we currently hold, you have the power to change that as an individual member of our organization. So step up, sign up, and let us help you through that process. So I don't know where it's going. I don't think any of us know where it's going. If you have a specific question, reach out to Justin Tomei at MUCC. He's our policy guy. He can talk to you more about it. We'll connect you guys with him too. But there are conversations happening. We don't know how the chips are going to fall, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be.
As of right now, though, there has been nothing introduced for information or action at the NRC meetings. Yep. So all these conversations that are happening are just happening behind closed doors. There has been nothing voted on or spoken about publicly, regarding
or
that.
legislate bills introduced.
Yeah, so there's been no action on it.
There's been no action so far. So, but it's a continued conversation.
Because I think one of the biggest things that people kind of fall back on with all of this is like, yeah, they're feeding off the same bait pile, but they're also looking on the same. And I know everybody in this room is going to have their own opinion on this topic, but you know, they're grazing in the same in the same fields, and it's just a lot of it doesn't make sense all the time. And getting the word out there about it all is important.
Our CEO has had this conversation for over a decade now. And so, I mean, if you have a question, we'll be happy to answer it at the office, but it's a hot topic.
It goes further than, I know.
Continue to be discussed. And so again, if you feel passionate about it as a listener, I'd say sign up for MUCC and, you know, step into the river, like, you know, put your waders on and let's go.
Right. Like in the Mouillee River.
No, you get cancer in that river.
Well, I mean, look at St. Clair right now, so who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But the next one is there any talk about having a possible crane season in the near future?
This is the second.
Yeah, I was waiting for that,
issue.
actually. We're going to get yelled at.
Because I know, episode. Like, in your area, Tyler, like, they're everywhere.
Yeah, I see them a lot.
Hunting. I'm not asking you guys these questions, just I know a lot of the listeners also have these type of questions, and to have somebody from your guys' organization, the club, is important. Like to have, voice your guys' inside.
What we can say is that it's an issue with the NRC. So it is the NRC is there to name game species, method of take, seasons, bag limits. If you are for that hunt, you need to address the NRC with it. It's something that you can join MUCC and submit a resolution, and if it passes, we'll get to work on it. I don't think with the current administration, there's been kind of a no new seasons
on the
mandate,
chopping block,
for anything, just no new seasons. But it's something that the NRC would have to address, and so I would say anybody who is passionate about it, reach out, go to the NRC and testify. Work with your local NRC commissioner that can bring that forward.
Right.
And it's something that, you know, it's a lot of talk about it. But again, we can't keep talking in echo chambers. We can't just keep talking to each other
and hoping the word gets out.
We've got to go to the decision makers and we've got to talk to them.
Cranes are weird because it's just such a political, polarizing topic.
Same with doves, I feel like, too.
Yeah,
well,
very
we lost
similar.
doves on a ballot initiative. And so,
oh, really?
Yeah. So the reason we don't have a dove hunt is because it came up as a voter-led ballot initiative. Michigan is a referendum state. So if you get enough signatures, you can put anything on the ballot in November. Anything. And
that's crazy. Good
to know, though.
Yeah. What's crazy is obviously how fast rumors spread, right? I mean, like, because I was told not by a qualified person telling me this by any means, but that there was no way possible to get the dove season back, just how far along it
would take an act of the legislature. So
yeah,
you would have to change the law in Michigan, and that's basically nearly impossible with how our state falls in political.
Okay, so maybe that's what they were saying.
Political leanings. So based on how our state kind of falls with political leanings, doves would be nearly impossible because what happened is a bunch of people got enough signatures to say we never want a dove hunt in Michigan. It got on the ballot. We ran a counter offensive basically to have people vote no on banning dove hunts. It got passed because the average Michigan voter, they got convinced that this should not be hunted. So that's the tricky part with all of this stuff is that we want the legislature to stay out of natural resources issues. We don't want ballot box biology, and we don't want it for any species. And so doves are gone because enough people got enough signatures and the voters voted it. Like it wasn't a science thing. It wasn't a natural resources thing. It was just a ballot initiative. And we don't want any game species management going to ballot. You saw it in Colorado with the lion hunt, right? So if you guys paid attention, so Colorado was going to outlaw mountain lion and bobcat hunting.
Okay.
And that was a ballot initiative that a bunch of people in Boulder and Colorado Springs and Denver didn't like the idea of people hunting lions in the state. They thankfully defeated that initiative, and lion hunting is still legal in Colorado. But just like that, any group can come in and get enough signatures that they could put anything on the ballot in November. And so that's the big piece about why we need more members as MUCC, that when these things come up, we need to run the campaigns, we need to run the votes, we need to talk to legislatures. So we have always tried to insulate natural resources management from political and social agendas. And that political agenda can come out of the legislature. So we want to make sure that when we're doing these things and we're moving these seasons along, or we're talking about management, we want to make sure it's science-based, it's through Prop G, and that laws are not passed to ban us from having something like a dove hunt.
Now, I'm not expecting you guys to have this answer, but sending out ballots, how many people does that really reach?
Like the voting ballots, the mail-in ballots, or like
the mail-in
ballot initiative where they're getting signatures?
The mail-in ballots.
I have no idea.
Just because of the fact, like, if I'm thinking about it, and we were talking about, you know, what you guys get through the mail and email standpoints and stuff, it's like, one, spending the money on all the paper, just getting deep into that. But two, how many people are seeing it, looking at it, throw it away? Even for the waterfowl numbers, how many people are doing, like, actually filling that out and then mailing it back?
So our policy guy, Justin, used to run campaigns. Like, he used to run political campaigns. Mm-hmm. He was talking in the multi-millions, tens of millions of dollars in order to fund some of these campaigns. And so it's a big lift to think about some of these groups that come in that are well-funded, mm-hmm. and we're for, you know, we got to be ready for anything that comes down the pipe.
Be ready for war, basically, at the end of the day.
And we hope it never comes. We hope that we continue to maintain science-based initiatives and all the management, but it's millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars to combat one of these initiatives.
And like I said, I know the research behind all, like, the ballots getting shipped back in and stuff, none of us here probably have, but it's like there's got to be a better way to reach out to the younger generation to actually voice their opinion instead of mailing all this stuff out. Because it's, again, we just talked about who checks their email anymore.
Yeah,
or you know, it's crazy.
That's where these platforms come in, right? Like, we can have these conversations in long form context. We can explain the nuances of them. It's not a 3x5 card mailer that says that a dove is a songbird when it's really a game species. You know, we can really do this, and the more people that are listening, the better. So whether, again, like back to that Conservation Insider email, like, or follow the MUCC Instagram page, do whatever you can, but we're going to keep you informed when these things are starting to take shape.
But I think the messaging has remained the same for all of us. It's just the platform or the channel in which we're communicating it is really what's been changing. And that's something we're trying to take advantage of and make sure that we are continually reaching our same audience and a new audience with new platforms and different platforms. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And obviously it also takes the person to want the change, right? Like the actual hunter himself, us
it takes
as
effort. Well, it takes the action.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We, like going back to that fishing bill that was, like, you know, back in 2023, where we sent 85,000 emails in like 3 days.
I mean, we literally the legislators met with our policy and government affairs manager and said, we need you to stop. We haven't been able to work for 3 days because we literally shut down their servers. Like, we overloaded with so many emails that they could not work.
And our ask was, take your name off the bill.
Yeah.
Like, that's simple.
That's all we need.
Yeah. Just take your
name off.
And
all we did was send emails. We weren't doing anything else. It was just people writing emails saying, I urge you to.
It's a form letter. Like, it is literally like you go to this website and the letter is written for you. You put in your name, your address, your email, your phone number, you click send, and the letter is written for you. You can add to it if you want to add a little spice or add your story to it, but it's a form letter that you click on a link, you put your info in, you click send, and it based on your address, it sends it to the appropriate legislature in Lansing that they're hearing you. And so we shut that bill down. We killed that bill in its tracks because legislators realized, this is not a good bill. My constituents don't want this. We're not going to do this. So, like, it does take action. So when you're mad about something, don't just scream at the clouds.
Right.
Like, get involved.
Let's do something about it.
Send an email. Like we're talking about doing a capital day in the spring of 26 where we're going to go and we're going to meet with our legislators and get a relationship built. Like be a normal person to them, be a constituent, that we're not there to yell at them. We're there to get to know them, to tell them those stories of me and my son, to tell them of stories of you and your sister.
Right.
Like we're there to let them know the power that this has in our life and why you need to pay attention to it. And it's not just about fighting bad bills. It's about building relationships that when we want to advocate for something, they're going to listen to us too.
Definitely. And that's something that we're really good at too, is because a lot of times when we're working with the NRC or the DNR, they refer to us as the adult in the room sometimes because we come with such a level-headed, moderate mindset of we're going to follow the science.
You're not one way and that's it.
No, we want to follow the science. We want to use best scientific management tools, and that's what we're based off of. But again, that emphasizes how powerful strength in numbers is, and that one of our voices is not really powerful. But when we combine our voices and we continue to add people to that,
right,
it only continues to add the.
I mean, I don't know.
That's absolutely huge, though. We need that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just wish there was more people that really took initiative of wanting that and taking that extra step, because even like from a social media standpoint, posting or whatever it may be, you kind of start losing people's interest. Even like if they it's 3 clicks, let's say, it might be 2 clicks too many for that one person. Whatever, they don't want to like really look into it. So it's just.
But instead of going on Facebook, Instagram, and typing something, why not just do that? Let's just, we need to push more towards that and tell people, and some people might not know, and that's the biggest thing. Is
people for sure, I don't think know to the full extent.
That's the cool thing, right? Like for the price of a box of shells, right? $35 a year, you're gonna get an email in your inbox. You're gonna click once to open that email. You're gonna read it. If someone stands out to you, there's gonna be a link. You're gonna click twice. It'll take you to the appropriate page, whether that's a call to action, whether that's a donation, whether doesn't matter what it is. And then literally you type a few things on the keyboard, and your third click, you're done. Like you've used your voice. And you also know that $35 a year is going to an organization that has been for 87 years protecting your right to hunt, fish, and trap. And if you want to keep it, get involved. Which
I think nowadays with social media, I think I have like 1 or 2 more questions. We'll go watch the state game. It's tough because hearing these other, I'm not going to say like names of the organizations, but hearing numbers and seeing little results out of it all, it might be hard for some people to give money to the ones that are actually. We all know it takes that one bad seed and it spreads like crazy, so it might be a thing where people are almost scared. Like, where's my money actually? Obviously, you guys got the backbone of it all, but you know what I'm saying? It's just
I've also come up against a lot, like throwing the baby out with the bathwater mentality. Like, oh, you guys oppose baiting in the lower. Okay, well, I'm not going to be a part of this. Well, do you also know that we established the youth mentor license? Do you also know that we had a conversation with the director of the DNR around the solar issue up in Gaylord? Like, that we pushed back on the expansion of Camp Grayling.
It was like the 400 acres of solar or whatever that was.
But then even like 2 years ago when they wanted to expand Camp Grayling at no cost, like we shut that down too. Like,
taking all the way
you might have an issue with one singular topic, but like if you don't want to voice all of it, like you still got to. And honestly, if you have an issue with that singular topic, you have the chance to change it. Yeah. Like you can get involved and write a resolution and change how we deal with something. Like that's not a far-fetched idea. So like my big thing is like stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like get involved for your outdoor heritage. And if there's a topic or an issue you want to deal with, we will listen to you.
I think the scariest part of it all is that like we're starting to get a bunch of solar where we're out hunting. I can't remember. I don't know if you've seen it or not. All the amount of acreage that they're taking over. I can't remember what it is.
I drove past it yesterday,
but
it's insane.
They start small, and before you know it, it's all gone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't think people understand like it's a trickle effect. It's a snowball effect. Like it's going to start small and just keep on rolling with punches wise.
Yeah. Well, and solar is not inherently a bad thing in our opinion. I mean,
I don't think
one thing we just pushed really heavily for, especially after the Gaylord, proposal, is number one, we push for a transparent process, right? So if the DNR is doing these things, they want to put solar, and the governor has put into effect, we need X amount of solar or green energy by, I don't remember the year, but yeah, I mean, we push for a really transparent process, and we push for public input. And even if we were able to get that, I think that's a win in itself, because at least we know what's happening, and we have the ability for public input. And the big issue with the Gaylord one is that they kind of just dropped it and they said, hey, this is going to happen. And everyone said, no. We need, and transparently, the property that they were looking at in Gaylord probably wasn't the worst fit in the world, because it was right next to a road. It was already kind of not great, great area. The big issue is the DNR had just spent, I heard the numbers say, $800 per acre in planting red pine saplings. So they had just put a bunch of money into trees. Again, we don't believe that solar is inherently bad, but there needs to be a process for it. It needs to be transparently communicated, and it needs to be open for public input. So if the public, unanimously agrees that, hey, this is not a good idea, the DNR needs to listen to that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest downfalls of everything is people don't see it until it's way too late, because they don't put like the research behind it all. And I'm not saying you got to be on the internet on a daily basis and understand like every law that's getting passed. 'Cause I'm not saying it at all, but just be aware of like your surroundings wise. But
that's another thing, you join join MUCC, you're going to get that information, it seems right?
Yeah. Yep. That's our whole Conservation Insider. Is really just every 2 weeks we send out a recap of what's happening policy, what's happening education, what's happening communication, what's happening habitat. We talk about all of that. So if there's policy issues you're wondering about, subscribe to our Conservation Insider, and every 2 weeks there will be an email in your inbox that says, hey, here's what's happening in policy right now.
And I think the hard part about it all too is a whole nother conversation. We don't have to get down this rabbit hole, but farmland in itself, there's not a lot of younger generation farmers coming up into it all. So like a lot of these farmers that are selling it to solar, it's because their kids don't want to get into the farming, so they're just losing the whole property, and so they just want to get the money, or say the dad or grandpa sold the farm, or it passed away, and now they just want the money for themselves, and that's it.
And today, I mean, farming is becoming less and less financially viable as a job. I mean, it's just with inflation, with increasing costs, with everything, it's a tough living.
Does MUCC do anything towards that, or no? Is that a whole different thing?
So we fully respect property rights. Like that's the biggest thing that we can stand on, is that we respect the right for you to do with your property what you choose. We take an education approach on the education around, what's going to happen if all of this is turned into a solar field or to windmill farms. And again, solar is not the inherent issue. As Tyler said, it's the transparency of how these lands are chosen. What's the criteria for selection? Do you have a public comment period? Are you allowing people on public land issues to voice their opinion? And private land, we can't control. Like, we respect property rights. We respect all that. And so we take an education approach to the landowners.
Now, my last question, for MUCC itself, what has been some of the hardest things or obstacles to overcome through it all? I mean, I know you guys do so much for the state itself. There's got to be something where, in your guys' own opinion, and not speaking for the entire organization, but if you guys did this maybe a little bit better, it would be that much easier for us hunters.
I got two things.
Go ahead first.
I mean, number one is I think we need to be better at telling our story. And I think that goes for a lot of things in conservation and really just in general. I mean, people don't understand what you're doing unless you tell your story correctly. And I think that's one thing that, we're very actively working on, is trying to tell our story better and trying to educate people on what we're doing and the importance of what we're doing, and all of that. But I would say the second thing is, we alluded to it earlier and talked about it pretty in depth, but hunters cannot keep fighting with hunters. right? We're all here for the same reasons.
And yelling up to the clouds, like you're saying, just
we all want to enjoy our natural resources. We want to make sure that our children see it and the next generations to come see it and have the same opportunities we had. So, you know, there's almost a civil war of sorts within hunters in Michigan and probably across the nation. It's not just Michigan specific. But the more that we continue to fight against each other, all we're really doing is just pushing everything back and potentially losing opportunities that we wouldn't have had before. So I think as MUCC, we need to tell a better story of the impact we're having and the impact it's having on hunters, on individuals and people that want to use public lands. And then I think as hunters as a whole, we need to be better about working together and working with each other to find a mutual goal that we're trying to reach and not be so single topic on everything. And I don't agree with that, so I'm going to fight you on it. Right. Instead of trying to find more middle ground to say, okay, why don't we connect on this and we'll push and share our voice together and really, you know, have all of our voices collectively be heard instead of me just screaming into the ether about something. Yeah, no, I mean, that's I'm not speaking for you, but I feel like that just hit it right on the nail right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have much to add. It's just, it's the lack of action that we all take. Like Michigan is unique. Like MUCC is unique to where like you have the power to change stuff. Like you have the power to push back. You don't have to.
Every voice matters.
Yeah, it does. And for me, the hardest thing is always like, you know, if someone has a complaint, I love to hear it. I want to, you know, and I want to fix issues and I want to resolve and I want to come together, like Tyler said. But like my big question is like, okay, so what have you done lately? Like, where are you in the process? Where are you in the fight? Like, we are all fighting for the same thing, not to lose our outdoor heritage. And outdoor heritage is a big, expansive umbrella. Like, right, it's a big tribe in that tent. And my big thing is like, you know, people getting engaged, paying attention, and we make it easy, man.
Right.
Like you get in, you know, you can follow the Instagram, the Facebook, the social media. You can star the emails, and you will get an update. Like we will do the work for you, and you just got to use your voice. And you just be a member and use your voice, because we all have things we want to complain about, or we want to see better deer hunting. We want to see bigger bag limits. We all have stuff we want. Right. But my big thing is like, what are you doing to make it happen? And I invite you to be a part of this, because if you ever come to our convention, the debate there is so cool. It is
just see. I'm sure
awesome to see.
Passion.
Do you guys have that online?
We don't film the convention. We live stream all the NRC meetings. Okay. So if you can't make it to an NRC meeting, hop on our Facebook page. Okay. And you can watch the NRC meetings, and you'll see our policy guy Justin speaking on behalf of our 40,000 members. Like, I'd love it to be that he's speaking on behalf of 250,000 members. Like, we have power in a collective voice. And so my biggest like struggle is always like, if you have a passion, get involved.
100%.
Yeah.
And that goes true for like the smaller groups, like Pointe Mouillee. Like we both have memberships for MUCC because of Pointe Mouillee.
Yeah, they're a member club.
You can join these smaller groups and be a part of it too.
Yeah.
And, you know,
your local hook and bullet club. We represent 200 affiliate clubs, like Oakland County Sportsman's Club, Kent County Conservation League, the Paw Paw, you know, the Muskegon Conservation Club, the Southeast Michigan Conservation Club. Like these local clubs, go there first, because 200 of them are part of us as well. So you're going to be a member and get those communications through that local member club. But then at the same time, like if you want to step up and do the individual membership, you get all the discount benefits, you get the magazine, you get a little more in touch with the organization.
You can't beat the free membership for Onyx and stuff like that. You can't beat that.
20% off GK calls.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, that's top notch right there.
GK.
You just can't beat it. You know, if you want to have a voice, go ahead, join it. You know,
and it's up to us, man. It's like, seriously, our dads are.
It's not up to us. It's on us at this point.
Yeah,
that's the thing, right?
Like it's time for us to step up.
Right. No, I completely agree, 100%. You got anything else?
That's about it. I think we might need to do another part 2 or something like that with you guys coming in, and maybe do like a goose hunt or something like that.
Heck yeah,
you're always down to hunt.
I'd love to have you guys come to Pointe Mouillee. Because exposure to anybody or any type of group helps us all out in the long run. So maybe we could do something like that where you guys come in for Pointe Mouillee. We maybe take Friday off to do a goose hunt or something like that in the morning, and then for the weekend we'll do the festival, obviously. But like I said, it's just getting that exposure out for whether they know it or not. Everybody at those type of events,
we can try
it's
to get you
important.
guys some volunteers too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Let's go watch some stinking Michigan State basketball, I guess.
It's not looking great so far.
What quarter is it? Is it early still, or are we kind of getting later in the game?
Wow, we were down 8 earlier. Now we're only down 2 going into half.
Okay, so it's half. Okay, so we're not missing like that much. Okay,
we're good.
Well, before we end it all, I just want to say thank you to you two for coming down, but for everything that you guys do with your guys' podcast and getting the word out there for not only the older generations, the younger generations to come. You guys do a lot of stuff behind the scenes with not enough thanks from anybody. So I personally want to thank you guys for everything that you guys do, and the whole club itself. Is just without you guys, I mean, who knows where this whole state would be at right now.
Well, we have to get you guys on ours, and then
I'd love to
tell
man.
your story about your pod and the festival, and come share that story with our listeners too.
I'd love to, man.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Even with walleye running coming up, I mean, it's here now. Obviously, maybe you just have you guys out down for a walleye trip, and then just come right back up into here, whatever.
We're always down. Trust me,
because you're not even that far in reality.
I'm like 35 minutes.
I'll drive as far as I need to for a walleye trip.
right. So we'll be good. Well, maybe we'll set that up.
Let's do it.
So again, thank you guys. Thank you to the whole club, MUCC. It means a ton, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it.
Of course.
If you're not a member, join now.
That's right.
Thank you guys for.
I'm usually the one that says like and subscribe.
He always ends on that.
I'm the like and subscribe guy. So he already got it.
Yeah, I got you.
Before I end it, I guess, do you guys want to thank any of you guys' sponsors or people that do you guys want to?
I mean, just
you don't have to. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, a big thank you to all of our members, honestly, because without our members, our voice is not as powerful and it's not as strong, and we're only as strong as our collective voice. So, yeah, the more people that can join, the more people that can help. We're only going to continue to push the issues that are near and dear to our hearts. So, yeah, just another reason to join, and we'll continue to advocate for all the issues that we care so much about, and continue to create the opportunities for the next generations to come.
Awesome.
Love it.
I appreciate everybody tuning in on this week's podcast, and until the next one, thanks, guys.